Yeah, so I think that Elliot is right that there are a large group of Canadians who appreciate the pharmacare and dental aspects of what has been proposed here. But that's not the number one political issue of the day. The number one political issue of the day is housing, especially for people of my generation who are essentially squeezed out of the housing market, who see skyrocketing rents. There are, this coalition or pact or agreement is two parties. One, the NDP, who has no policies to tackle the housing crisis, and the Liberals, who have bad policies to tackle the housing crisis. And so, as a millennial voter who cares about that issue, which I think is the number one issue facing folks like myself, there's nothing on the table for us. And yes, it may be beneficial if we don't have coverage for dental to alleviate some of those bills. But that does nothing to address the fact that the average home in Ontario is $1.2 million, or you need to earn $180,000 in the Greater Toronto area to be able to buy the median home. Those are the aspirations that young Canadians like myself have. And those are the aspirations that we're going to be left waiting.
But David, let me ask you this. Usually when you have, again, for lack of a better phrase, a more lefty government, so in this case we have like a center-left coalition,
sure,
say, wouldn't that normally produce more policies that would incentivize and help with the funding of housing and make it more affordable? Usually that, in my experience, I tend to see those governments kind of tackling it, maybe not the best way, but they tend to take it head on.
David, if I can jump in just really quickly.
Sure.
Housing is under the affordability banner. Housing is the third subject in the agreement document between the two. And so
yes,
while I can't disagree with you, maybe we have disagreed on the fact that you don't think the policies are right. I think it's hard to argue that it is in fact an area of focus for the agreement, but I'll sort of let you jump in.
Yeah, and I'll elaborate. The Liberals and NDP perceive that they are going to solve the housing crisis with silly things like a ban on blind bidding and other demand side problems, which never address the chronic undersupply of housing. I mean, we need to build at least 1 million new homes in Ontario just to keep up with population growth, and that's to maintain the current standards that we have right now. And so there's no plan on the supply side in the original Liberal platform or in this agreement. And so the two parties can try and tinker with demand or flip-flop on things like a foreign buyers ban and on all of those things, which do absolutely nothing to increase supply. And so when I say there's not much to be appreciated on the consumer side here, it's because they do not have a policy to rapidly increase supply. And if you don't increase supply, we are going to continue to have the chaos that we have now.
Now, in the words of Jagmeet Singh, again, NDP leader, he said, and I quote, "We're not going to let them off the hook just because we have this deal. We're going to fight every step of the way." So, and I have heard Jagmeet Singh speak about housing affordability. I've heard him speak on this. If he stays true to his words, and I don't know, I mean, we'll see what happens. But, I do think that he would press for something like this. In fact, this is his moment to ask for what he likes. This is his Christmas. Is that fair to say, Elliot?
I think Jagmeet Singh is in a really good position, in a really strong bargaining position. What I liked about this agreement is this sort of idea of no surprises. This was what was top billing in the sense of the opening statements in the agreement itself. They're going to try and keep each of the parties, aware of what's going on. And I think if Jagmeet Singh was right, he would focus on housing, because that's probably the best way for the federal government to play in that inflation cost of living space and be able to demonstrate progress. And whenever the budget does come, I suspect the government will try to take steps. I don't know if they'll go as far as David is hoping, but I think they're going to try to take steps to address that. But I think over the next couple of years, this issue isn't going anywhere, and Mr. Singh has a great opportunity to use it as political leverage as he cranks up the next election.
And I agree that he has leverage, but the problem is that he has leverage to lean in on his bad policy prescriptions to solve the problem, because the NDP does not view this in the sense of chronic undersupply, not to link the provincial party in Ontario too closely to the federal party, but the provincial NDP could be widely considered a NIMBY, not in my backyard, anti-development type party.
Okay, I got to pause
And
you
I
there.
would-
We have to cut to commercial. We'll be right back.